TBRI.
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 TOVD.
TBRI.
TBRI, Trust-Based Relational Intervention.
TBRI is an attachment-based,
Trauma-informed intervention
that is designed to meet the complex needs
of vulnerable children.
TBRI uses empowering principles
To address physical needs,
connecting principles for attachment needs,
and correcting principles to disarm fear-based behaviors.
While TBRI is based on years of attachment, sensory processing, and neuroscience research,
the heartbeat of TBRI is connection.
Hello and welcome to the TBRI podcast. You're listening to Season 12, Episode 5. On this show, we talk all about trust-based relational intervention, or TBRI. We talk about different elements of the model itself, and we also talk about how TBRI is applied in various communities of care and practice. I'm Emily Pickett, producer of the podcast, and today we are chatting with John Warren. John is a community engagement and training specialist at Methodist Children's Home in Waco, Texas. John is a longtime TBRI practitioner, and he's also a TBRI mentor, and he is a longtime friend of the Institute. As we celebrate our 20th year as an institute, we had to make sure to talk to John about his journey with TBRI, his history with KPICD, and how he's been involved from the work from very early on. This episode is such a fun walk down memory lane, and we know you'll love hearing John's perspective on TBRI implementation, his experience as a camp buddy, and his favorite memories with Dr. Purvis and Dr. Cross. Please enjoy this conversation with our host, Sarah Mercado and John Warren.
Hello, John. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Sarah. Thanks so much. I'm super excited to be here.
It's really fun. We usually see each other at practitioner trainings a lot throughout the year, so this is kind of a fun new adventure for us. For our listeners, would you introduce yourself and tell them a little about your role and where you work and kind of what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's John Warren. I have been working at the Methodist Children's Home in Waco, Texas since 2005. Right now, I am what they call me the Community Engagement and Training Specialist. It's a role where I get to do some training for a lot of agencies that we work alongside in a lot of communities around Texas and New Mexico, and then in other certain locations across the United States when we get lucky enough to get connected with them in residential childcare and family support roles. So I travel and train and get to meet a bunch of people, and a lot of times I get to connect folks to TBRI or connect two different groups who are doing TBRI and get a chance for them to collaborate and learn from each other. So that's a lot of fun. I did spend about a decade in the training department internally at MCH. And so that would have been from 2009 to about 2021. And during that time, I started in 2009. We started implementing TBRI in 2010 in earnest. And so I kind of was along for the ride for the implementation. And before that, I got to do a lot of direct care, case management. And then before that, I worked in recreation. And so I still say that if they would pay me to do the recreation piece, what they pay me now, I would keep doing that. But
heck yeah, I want the recreation job. That might be worth a pay cut.
You don't have to pay a bill. Yeah, it was a blast.
That sounds like so much fun. Okay, so when TBRI rolled into town, you said you started to learn it in 2010. What was that like? Because many people don't know that Methodist Children's Home is where like Dr. Purvis came to do the teen camp, and she did so very, very early days for the Institute. What was it like for you guys?
I think for us, and not to speak for all of the employees at MCH, but for us, it was, it felt special. Okay. We were introduced to it by our president and CEO. His name's Tim Brown. Mm-hmm. And he recently passed, but he personally knew Karyn. And then as they spoke, however that agreement came about, they're like, we should do this TBRI thing at your facility. And so it got introduced to us kind of from on high as this is what we're going to do next. I also remember being, at that time, I just come out of case management, And our program model had been kind of up in the air and a little wishy-washy, which had created a sense of kind of chaos and fear on our campus for a lot of people. And so it was really exciting to hear about something that was going to organize our strategies and our interventions with kiddos. For me, I think it was an introduction to trauma-informed care. I didn't really know that term probably back in 2010. And it was kind of like, we're being told something that we're going to do. But it also, as I learned more and more about it, was like, oh, this seems to make a lot of sense. And so it was in those early days, I think, that if I could remember like the phrase that would encapsulate the introduction to TBRI, was like, this is what your grandma was doing with you, right, on her second go around with caregiving and parenting. But and we know that works. This is just saying, hey, here's the science behind what makes that work. That's how it was presented to us. This is how great grandmothers treat their grandkids. And now we just have all the science behind it. So let's use that and go do that with our kiddos.
Yeah. That is so cool. So let me back up really quickly because I just realized I didn't ask you to share about Methodist Children's Home, kind of your programs, what you guys do. I asked you about your job, but in case people don't know, what do you guys do? I know you're in Waco.
Well, we're in Waco and in 13 other locations across Texas and New Mexico, and we run the full gamut of services for children, youth, and families, starting with preventive services, family support, and running then through, we do parent education in all of our different locations, which you can find at mch.org. And then, when the home is not the best place or is an unsafe place, they can come out of that home. And in 4 locations, we have foster care programs. And then in Waco, we have 2 residential programs on our main campus, which is in the heart of Waco. And then on our Boys Ranch, we have an RTC that is about 20 minutes outside of Waco. We also have aftercare programs for any student that came into contact with MCH can reach out to our aftercare program, which includes helping case management and then help through life transitions at any point, at whatever age. We have independent living programs. We have two that stair step our kids transition from living on our campus to independent living. And I think that covers the whole gamut. I think that's all that what we do. We do a lot of collaboration and training as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so back to 2010, Dr. Purvis and Dr. Cross, I'm assuming, I don't know if they were traveling together at that point, but showed up on campus for a training. Is this correct?
Yeah, so actually it was just Dr. Cross. I didn't meet Dr. Purvis in 2010 that I recall. Now, I am a little older at this point, and I might not remember all these things. And so somebody might be listening out there and catch me in misremembering. But I remember Dr. Cross coming to do a 2-day lecture on our campus, 2 days worth of lectures on our campus. And I remember thinking, it was the first time since I'd been in school that I felt like I was back in school with Dr. Cross as my professor. And I really enjoyed the way that he presented. I enjoyed all the different topics we would hear about in the random middle of lectures, but it all really jived with me. And I was really excited to learning about child development. And the science behind it was really awesome. Because for me, I came to my job at Methodist Home from a background in theology and a background in business. And I knew I wanted to serve. I thought I was going to be serving in a church and then ended up in a parachurch organization like MCH, really unprepared and really just didn't have the educational background to be like, be a case manager for kiddos. Okay, the state of Texas says I can be, so go do it. And TBR was like, oh, well, this puts some sense behind what we've been trying to do. So
I had a similar experience. I don't know if you know this, but I majored in world religions in college, which a lot of people said like, well, what are you going to do with that? And I shrugged and said, I don't know. And did I think this is where I would land? No. Did it serve me in my early case management days? No, but it worked out for us. So, same thing. I remember when I would listen to Dr. Cross, I had to take amazing amounts of notes because he is just so brilliant, but also like hey man, can you talk to me like I have a religion degree? Come down here with me, sir. Um, so at what point did you meet Dr. Purvis?
I think that would have been that next year in 2011. So we deepened our relationship with the Institute. And as we did that, we were we were the beneficiaries of a lot of training from TCU, which included Dr. Cross and Dr. Purvis. And so they came down to Waco and spent 2 weeks with us doing the same training the first week that they did the second week in order to get all our staff trained. But that training is where we really dove into the full program. This is what TBR is. This is what you're going to leave here and go do. This is how we're going to do it. This is going to be our trauma-informed program in caring for our kids. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, it was like, go and do TBRI.
Okay, so did you guys know like the treat that it was to have her on campus? Because now, like, even before we lost her, people would have just lost it if they could have had her come and spend a couple of weeks. At that time, though, TBRI was so much smaller. So was it like, oh, these doctors are coming down to share their stuff, or what, did it feel like a big thing or no?
It feels like a big thing now.
Right. Right.
Now, looking back now, it's like, whoa, I cannot believe the resources and time that was poured into us as an agency and those of us who got to participate. At the time, it felt more like, oh, there's this cute little thing that's from the university up the road, and we're one of the first people to get on the bus with TBRI, and we're gonna kind of experiment and try it out and see what happens,
Yeah.
And also along with that, probably a lot of agency and personal ideas like, yeah, we've heard we knew what the last program was and it went away, and then there was the next program and then it went away, so this is just the new thing.
Right.
And gosh, yeah, just really lucky to say that we're still doing it. Like we didn't change. We were sticking with this, and we're continuing to do TBRI and on our journey living it out. So it's
there are not many organizations that can say that about any one model of care, because you're exactly right. Like I can remember back in the day, like, what's the flavor of the day? Like, what is it we're supposed to do now? What's the form to go with that? And how does that work? And all of that. And I remember like a little skepticism when I first learned TBRI and I was told this is what we're doing now, period. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And so that was 2011. So 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Man. What has what has the journey been like? I mean, I would argue, John, that you guys, it was like a mutually learning thing, right? Like they were learning from you guys for sure as you're learning from them. So, and that's how it goes now. I mean, you and I do practitioner trainings together all the time, and I bet there's not one that any one of us walk out of where we haven't learned something from one another and, everybody there. So, how was, like, when you think about the first changes you guys made, do any of them feel drastic? Do you even remember? Like, was it just kind of the next thing that happened? I'm asking you to pull from the archive. Sorry, man.
No, yeah, it's just downloading from the cloud. Let me think about it for a second. No, there were some drastic changes. We were doing groups with kids in homes, right? And I just transitioned out of a role as a case manager where I would be doing that in a residential setting with 10 to 12 kiddos. And so I remember in one of these early trainings, they came with, we learned how to do a nurture group and came with a laundry basket full of gum and candy and fidgets and maybe a weighted item and Band-Aids and supplies to make a regulation wheel to make an engine plate, right?
Yeah.
And they talked through it and then handed it to us and said, now here is the structure for the groups you're going to lead. And I remember personally thinking, like, where was this when I was leading groups? I was very literally leading on, like, calling my buddy across the way in a different home and saying, hey, what are you doing for this? This is the problem. And learning, by trial and error and hearing from others. But it was this structured thing. We're going to do this. You got to do it once a week. And then after we did them for a while, we realized like we were all repeating the information. And so we did this real concerted effort for all of us to start creating nurture groups. And as we all created them, we put them in a common place. So we had a nurture group binder. And so that was one of the big drastic changes. Also, a lot of our language changed. We had lots of posters around our living spaces that said no, don't, and stop. And many, if not all of those went away. And we started asking our clients living with us. And I speak from a residential perspective from Methodist home because that's where I've spent my career mostly. But a lot of those things came down off the walls, and what went up was, here's what we're looking for you to do. We adopted a set of life skills that was developed in collaboration with the Institute. And we developed a model of care, like an image that was specific to Methodist home, borrowed from and working with TCU to put up on our walls and have us, have reminders of the culture that we're trying to create and the work that we're trying to do. So those were big differences from the first 4 years of working at MCH, where different things were on the wall. Language was really unsure. Group was kind of like, well, you should just kind of figure that out. And things seemed, just do your best. And this was like, oh no, this is how we're going to do it. So
yeah, I feel like, John, we're carrying y'all's lessons learned forward. I was just on a call literally a few hours ago with some folks in Lithuania that oversee the residentials in Lithuania. And literally we're saying, like, just start small. Like, so I love that you're like, we basically started with nurture groups, and then we started to tear the signs, down that didn't fit what we wanted to do. And like, there was no like, change everything right away. It was like, start with, and maybe there was.
I would say it was definitely a both and, where it was like, no, we're throwing everything else out that we did, and this is what we're doing, which again, is a lesson that I don't know that I would want anybody else to learn on the fly while they do it.
Right.
But also the message was, start with these things, like simple things like water bottles, having gum available, those different things.
Right.
Definitely were the things where a lot of our staff might have said, like, I can't wrap my hand around all of it. You don't have to do this one thing. And there was an urgency to it as well, because once we learned what TBRI was saying, we were like, this is where it's at. We've got to be doing this for everybody we serve. I remember at the time being like, maybe we should pilot it somewhere and let it happen organically, and then it can spread. And and that I think is always a pie in the sky kind of like strategy. But for an institution, it was like, no, we have to do it one way. We're going to do this. And I think we pilot more things now, do things a little bit differently too, as well. But I like the idea that we were all learning from each other. I think that just carries forward. We're just all on the journey, figuring out, as we go. And I do part of my job. One of the things I love to do is I get to talk with other folks who are implementing TBRI in different contexts. And at the very least, just say options, like, here, you got a couple options. You can do it this way, that way. Here are the things where we messed up. I love talking to other people. Like, here are places where things just did not work out. Like, we gave everybody a water bottle, and we thought that was great. It was a cheap water bottle for people who had a hard time keeping track of things, and those went away. So we had to figure out a new way to do that. It's a lot of fun to be able to carry those, carry those lessons forward and help others who might not need to make the same mistakes.
Yeah. No, it's so smart. I just feel like, the more we go, the more we learn, and the more we can share. And I think, like, one of those big lessons is slow down. I mean, if I think about in the context where I was learning how to do TBRI and we were implementing in foster care, it's like we were in such a hurry. And had we just actually gone slower and looked at things more methodically, we would have ended up ahead of where we landed, having to redo so many things. And that is part of the learning process, and that's okay too. But I hope that people will hear, like, even in these early days, we were trying to race through it, and sometimes that doesn't always pan out the way you want it to. Okay, I feel like at some point somebody told Dr. Purvis TBRI won't work with teens.
Yeah, at some point. maybe constantly for the first few years of us trying to implement. Absolutely. This is one of the things I loved and was impressed by Dr. Purvis. When I'm training and we hear Dr. Purvis say something in a very kind tone and voice, I'll pause it and go, y'all, Dr. Purvis just said that this works with everyone. This nice grandma's talking a whole bunch of trash about her program and how awesome it is and it can work anywhere and everywhere. And I love that because, yeah, people would say this ain't going to work with teens, particularly the nurture group. We had lots of fun team building activities and groups that we would run. And she said, oh, it won't work. Well, let me do one. And so she came and did one with a group of teen girls on our campus. At that time, it was a bunch of teen girls that I knew very well from having worked directly with them for a while. And of course, there's this, everybody has seen, if you've come to practitioner training or if you've watched any of the caregiver package videos, you've seen our kids in nurture group with Dr. Purvis. I mean, just going right along with her, learning, listening, being cared for and caring for others. It's lovely. And of course, I think we're naturally suspicious as humans, but especially those who might say like, my program works with anybody. So they're like, well, it's great. You worked with the girls, come do it with the boys. And so she did the same thing. She just called every bluff. She was like, oh, okay. And she showed up, and for good or for bad, I think it probably helped to have a big camera crew following you around for the kids to be like, what is going on here? But she did a group with the boys, and you've seen those videos. And so, you know, I do spend some part of the time that I get to spend with other people talking about TBRI, defending it in some way or saying, no, this works. And sometimes I do that with grace and sometimes I don't. What is hard to do in the moment is to go, yeah, you haven't seen or experienced the things that I've experienced. I've watched this work, and I've seen myself change, and I've seen kids respond, and not perfect and not always, but better. And so, she just kept calling people. Oh yeah, I'll do that. I raise you nurture group. Let's go do a camp. Right. So like,
talk about the camp. Will you talk about the camp?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that was, let's see, 2010, 11, and 2012. And I wasn't in the decision-making part of this, but it was decided we would take, I think, 12 of our kiddos from Methodist home, and we couldn't do a long camp like we saw in videos in the caregiver package, but I guess the previous iteration of the caregiver package. But we did 4 days in Brownwood with 12 of our kids in the middle of the summer, super hot.
No shade to Brownwood, but it's really hot and dry out there.
It's very hot and dry. And we took a group of kiddos that needed TBRI the most out there. And so we weren't sure what to expect. We had lots of planning meetings, and we had lots of what if and how are we going to handle this, and if there's violence, if there's eloping, if there's, so we did all the setup, but we got there and we had a really successful 4 days of camp. I remember it didn't take probably 10 minutes into the first group we had together for one kid to look at another kid, and go, hey, we're sticking together. And you're like, no, nobody planned that. Nobody planned that. That's not I know this kid, there's not a chance. Wow. And so we just started seeing the culture really take root from the very beginning of that camp. Personally, for me in that camp video, I had worked in a specific home at MCH and moved to the training department, but I kept up with the kids in that home. And so the kid that was my buddy during that camp, I wasn't his case manager, but I knew him. And I remember going into camp really worried about what we could accomplish in a week. And it was really difficult. Buddying is difficult. I've learned this. You're going to be a buddy at a camp, do TBRI. It takes a toll. You are on from the moment you wake up until you're with that kid and going. And so I think maybe we learned from this too, because we were buddying all day long and then it was over. And now when I've seen other camps, buddies take breaks, right? They get relieved and you're just like, okay, now you can go back and be your best self as a buddy.
Right.
Yeah, it was just really taxing. And my kiddo was 17, I think. My buddy was 17 and probably developmentally more like a 10, 11-year-old, and struggled in lots of ways academically. Like we kept doing these great activities like, hey, I want you to write a paragraph about this picture of these people experiencing an emotion. And I'm like, we're not writing anything. I don't know that this kid can write. But I remember one time where we did one of those activities and he was able to tell me his version of the story of him. I don't know, it almost feels like his origin story in some way. Like he told me a story how his CASA worker found him in a car in a snowstorm. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is one of those things that Dr. Purvis told us would happen, is when kids feel safe, they tell their stories. And he's telling me their story. And I had to work really hard to not get caught up in the details. Like it was not snowing in Texas when your CASA worker showed up,
right.
Whatever. But the kid was telling me the story. And so we got to talk about that and process that. And so I don't know, it was really, it was a really great learning experience is what it was.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was taxing. Good things happened. Difficult things happened. We learned a ton. But really some really amazing progress was made for some of those kiddos. Yeah.
And now we have a TBRI for Teens video.
We have a TBRI for Teens video. Yeah. So, that you barely see me in, which is my preference. I love it.
You're in the background?
I'm just running around in the background. I have on a hat and some sunglasses and I'm, doing my thing.
Purposeful. I see.
That's right.
That's all right. I'm going to go back and watch it and then I'm going to find you.
Okay. Like where's Wally?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's like it progressed, like, you did like the try to launch out there, nurture groups, maybe making some major changes, taking the things away. Fast forward, was there a moment, you talk about it, the camp being a moment, and you talk about like once nurture groups really started to go being moments, but do you feel like organizationally there was a moment when you feel like we might be doing this?
I think there's lots of little moments and lots of individual moments. Organizationally, I mean, I think the camp in the video was a big piece. I think the two nurture groups were big pieces to say, we're getting pushback or we're not sure this works. And then we have a video that says, no, this works. And here's how you can do it. I know that our VP of programs, Mo Dozier, came on the trip with us to camp in Brownwood and was a buddy. For me, that was a monster moment to be like,
big deal.
My VP is a buddy for a kiddo at this camp. This is what we're doing. Like there's no, and I think watching him talk about some of his learning moments were big moments for me. Yeah, I think as we developed life skills and said, this is what we're doing, and it went on walls in an institution that's been around since 1890.
Yeah.
I know that maybe there's not a lot about what hangs on the walls in some places, but that was a big change. This is what we're doing. I think some of the biggest indications like, we're doing this is when other people started reaching out and asking us like, hey, can we borrow that nurture group binder that y'all got? We'd really like that resource. And I'm like, resource? This is just a bunch of team building games and activities that kids will enjoy that have a lesson you can attach to it. But sure, we'll share it with you, no problem. And so as I started seeing that show up outside of Methodist home and other places and going, oh, okay. It's funny to talk about going, this is kind of a big deal. What we're doing came on slowly. It wasn't like, aha, it was
right.
Oh no, this is a movement happening and we're a part of it. Okay.
Yeah.
This is cool.
It's really, really cool. So, MCH is an ambassador org of ours. We don't have a lot of those. So I just wanted to kind of tag that. And you're obviously a mentor and and serve at a lot of our practitioner training. So I think that
Obviously,
as
I'm a mentor.
you're obviously a mentor. I apologize. Probably one of the OGs
Sorry.
in the mentor group. And we that means we get to have a lot of fun. As a reminder for our listeners, our mentors, you can understand why after this interview are handpicked. There's no application for that program. So that those people are chosen based on relationship with us and us understanding how they're functioning with TBRI in their communities. John, from those times, do you have a favorite memory of Dr. Purvis or Dr. Cross? Anything that stands out to you?
What I really remember, I'll start with Dr. Cross. With Dr. Cross, the nerd in me really appreciated the history of developmental psychology and attachment theory. Like, I didn't know this beforehand, and it is so essential to understanding human beings, understanding myself and others. And then to have him, I don't be this, professor, but then I get to hang out with him, play basketball with him, water polo at the camp, chat, buy me lunch, just talk about this stuff. Those kind of things really meant a lot to me. And I don't think I understood it at the moment, but I now get the whole relational piece. Like, they were just living out this relational thing that TBRI is based on. I think what I remember about some of my moments with Dr. Purvis, I will say, I think I was starstruck around Dr. Purvis. She was like a movie star in some sense so I'm a little high strung. And so sometimes when I get around people who I hold in high esteem, it's hard to be my authentic self. But the times where I got a chance to ask her questions, hear from her, I just remember her making me feel important and taking that time to talk to me, though I'm here in a sea of 150, 200 people at a conference. I remember feeling like she valued me, and that was a big piece of it. And I was just one person at a bunch of these different conferences, and then I don't know. I think some of my favorite things about Dr. Purvis is how much trash she talked about TBRI, and she did it so nice and so lovely, but basically just saying, like, the stuff works, period. I know it works. But saying it much nicer than that. So,
it's funny, John, because sometimes I felt like she would be like, "We can keep talking about this, or we can go do it." Like, what do you prefer? But she was a treasure, and the way that it is true, like when you were with her, you could feel like the most special person in the room. Like the attention and the like. I just I felt like I was heard.
Yeah, and I remember being at practitioner training and going, like, this is crazy. I took I think either urinalysis of my neurochemicals that we used to do at practitioner training, and I got to sit with Dr. Karyn Purvis and have her say, "Yeah, here's what this means to you," and go, "Oh my gosh, that's incredible." Those kind of things are nuts. I've also I guess the way that I have processed this since then, knowing that I was nervous and still finding out who I was when I was 14 years younger, those kind of things, she was very gentle with me. And so I appreciated that too. And I'm looking back on it now, light years ahead of me, but also like, bringing you along. So
I think she'd be proud of all of us for where we are now versus where we were then. I think she would be. John, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. It's kind of hard to believe. When you look back or you look forward, do you have any thoughts on the beginnings or where you hope we'll be in 20 years? Don't say retired, because stick together.
Gosh, looking back, I think I would say that without trying to be cliche, that TBRI changed my life, and that for 14 years, especially at the beginning, I thought this was a thing for kids,
Mm-hmm.
and have had to figure out that, no, this is a thing for me, and the better version of me is better for kids. That, I don't know, that to me it actually jives with my background in theology. Like, in some ways, this was a huge answer to some prayers about what does all this mean, and I think I got my answer in TBRI, for the relational piece, for being present with other humans, for valuing people, for being honest and respectful with folks. So I know that might sound overarchingly cheesy, but I really think who I am in 2025, if I had not gotten lucky to be at a place who was looking to implement TBRI, I'd be different. I'd be way different. I think I'm a better version of myself because of it. Looking forward, having been to some like strategic planning meetings in collaboration with the Institute and being along for the ride for the last better part of 15 years, gosh, I mean, I feel like the right answer here is what did Dr. Purvis say? What would it be like? What would it be like if the cry of every child was answered by a caring adult? I mean, I feel like that's the answer. But like you said earlier, figuring out the hands and feet of that is a struggle, especially I think in some of the current situations that the world finds itself in. We seem to sometimes lose the value of people over and against things. And so, I hope in 20 years that TBRI, trauma-informed care, becomes commonplace in most places where we're serving people.
Amen to that. That is, I can't even respond. Thank you, John. That was beautiful. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining us on the pod.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's been a fun trip down memory lane. It's always good to chat with you, Sarah.
You too.
The TBRI podcast is produced by the Karyn Purvis Institute of Child Development at TCU. To learn more about TBRI and the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit child.tcu.edu/podcast.